Hello and welcome to Infinite E, where the entertainment is limitless. I'm your host Harsh, and today we're being talking about games that are turning into movies and TV shows. And today we also have a new guest, Namra.
Hey Ash, thanks for having me. I guess just a little bit of background. I've been gaming probably longer than you've been alive, unfortunately, showing my age there a little bit. But yeah, it's like I started off with this little ancient machine. I don't know if you ever heard of it. It's called the Sega Mega Drive. Obviously,
Damn.
everyone's heard of Sonic, but in fact, my favorite game at the time, I think it was back in 1996 when I first got it. My dad brought it back from Japan for me. Was there was a Michael Jackson game in there, and it was
Really?
really good. Yeah, like you literally like danced and you threw some glitter out of your hands to kill gang bosses, and it seems inappropriate now. I'm thinking about it the first time in years, but you the objective was you were rescuing a little girl that Michael took home with him afterwards. So yeah, that's how it's started. But obviously, I'm more of a PC gamer, unlike a PS4 like yourself. So we're gonna have
Uh huh.
a lot to cover. But yeah, let's go.
Okay. So yeah, as I said, we're gonna be talking about games that are turning into TV shows and movies. As we heard now, like Last of Us, the game that's by what you call, it's by Naughty Dog, and they're turning their Last of Us series into a movie. I mean, not a movie, into a TV show. My bad. Yes, into a TV show. And yeah, what do you think about that? Like, because even Naughty Dog is doing another movie, but it's for Uncharted. And so yeah, what are your thoughts about those two turning into movies and TV shows?
I mean, those two specifically, I think they're obviously very popular games with very well known story arcs. And I almost feel like, having tried to play them coming from a PC, I feel their gaming experienced wasn't as good, and a lot of the time would just be in fact I ended up just watching a film on YouTube that was just made by cutscenes from all of Uncharted 1 all the way through to the through to 3. So especially I think this is standard for PC gamers. We don't really like unskippable cutscenes, or we're used to stories being told in a very different way. So we prefer to kind of just skip everything and then view the story just in and of itself, if it's something like that, like a YouTube video for all the cutscenes stitched together. I don't know if that's what you PS4 gamers, then the younger generation, agree with.
Okay, but like, I mean, I don't mind it that way, but the thing is that it kind of makes you want to sit. You just have to sit there and listen. You know what I mean? Like, and watch and know what's happening. But yes, at times I do understand it does get tedious. But then again, you do know, like, once you're done with the game the first time and you want to play through the second time, you don't have to go through the cutscene. You can skip. And I think in some of them too, you can also skip.
Yeah, like it started off with the Metal Gear Solid 5 series, right, which really started off giving the unskippable cutscenes. Until then, you used to have skippable cutscenes, and at least for me personally, that I think that's a big part of gameplay. But for people like me who actually don't pay that much attention to the story, I do feel like this is really good, but for PC gamers, this is nothing new. I think it's we've been having games being with either compelling stories or even not so compelling stories being turned into TV shows and movies for decades now. I think the most popular one that most people probably know about is Angelina Jolie as Lara Croft.
Oh
Like
yes.
back in '01, which obviously had a sequel as well. But we've also had all kinds of stuff like Prince of Persia had a film. It wasn't too bad actually back in '07, and just not that long ago we had the Need for Speed as well as World of Warcraft movies as well. And all of them did relatively well. Like Warcraft, it's seen like I thought it was a horrible flop, but then I just looked up the numbers, and it made triple its budget on the box office for of 160 million was the budget, and they made about 480 million just domestically. So I mean, you know what? That's a lot of money in the bank for someone like Blizzard, who doesn't have the budget or capability of Marvel.
And But then, like, story wise, what do you think? Even though, like, let's say, I don't know if you've seen the World of Warcraft movie, but story wise, like from what I remember, story wise, it to me, because even though I've not played World of Warcraft like thoroughly,
Mm.
I just felt like story wise, it wasn't, or yeah, it wasn't like there for me. I thought it's done. Of course, it's fully fledged in the game, because or else what's the point then? If the game's not fully fledged with the story, then why are people like playing that game? But I think that for the Warcraft movie, it could have done more world building, or it could have done more in a sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. Like, it tried to be a bit too grandiose and it tried to make it a little modern day Lord of the Rings, but skipped past there was so much story. But I mean, that's what I think is the case with all of these, right? Like, either you don't have enough source material to do good world building, which is the case in Lara Croft or Prince of Persia. So they take some liberties and it turns out okay, at least most of the time, because I have seen these films and I wouldn't say I hate any of them. But then you got the other side, which Warcraft such has what 25, 26 years of gaming lore, with the first game coming out in 96, and it's impossible to do it justice within a film. And that's why I really think that something like Last of Us will be great as a TV show rather than the movie. Just trying to put it all in 90 minutes is just impossible.
True, true. And what are your thoughts on? Because of course, the guys or the actors and actresses who did the voice acting for those two movies, right, for Last of Us and for Uncharted, they're of course, one, phenomenal. Because you have people like Troy Baker, who plays Joel for Last of Us, and he's just amazing. Like, he captures the character wonderful. What do you think? What do you think? How do you think it's gonna affect the movie or TV show? Not hearing the characters that we hear in the games. Like, do you think it's gonna like, take away in a way, or it's gonna give it a new flair? Because of course, not everyone can be not everyone can play the same character like the other has. You know what I mean?
I absolutely know what you mean. And yeah, I do know exactly what you mean. Like, especially when we're looking at games, we've probably put in hundreds of hours on listening to the same character say the same thing. It's going to be a little bit jarring for people who extensively played and replayed the games to have these same lines coming out of with a new voice. And I'll be honest, I'm sure there's going to be lots of Twitter threads from diehard games complaining about how the voice doesn't fit the essence of the character, right? But I mean, I feel like that's okay. It's just a completely different medium. And I guess one of the things which is slightly not exactly like this, but tangentially related, is like the Watchmen TV show. Like, it was so different from Watchmen the movie, Watchmen the comic, Watchmen the graphic novel, Watchmen the animated adaptation, and it just like, but it just works sometimes. So I guess it depends on the execution. But I have high hopes. But on the flip side, Uncharted, I am not a fan of Tom Holland being in that role. I mean, Tom Holland's alright, but damn it, just give it to Nathan Fillion. He's like perfect for that role. Just look at Firefly. I know you've not watched Firefly yet, have you? But
Not fully.
because I'm still annoyed that you referred to Alan Tudyk as anything aside from Wash from Firefly.
Yeah, I know. You've been giving me death threats about that. I know, I know.
I have to watch Firefly, but yeah, like I mean, Nathan Fillion even made little fan short film wherein he plays Nathan Drake, and it's on YouTube. And you know what? It is really good for something that has like no budget, nothing, right? Like, it's fan made film, like. And yeah, I absolutely loved it. Like, hell, like, so, this back in 2015, 2016, I used to be an Xbox guy, so I hadn't played any of the Uncharted games. I'd heard about the hype from friends, but, I just thought it was nothing, like, it was whatever, right? Like, but then I saw that and I was like, for me, that's my first glimpse of Nathan Drake. And for me, it's always going to be Nathan Fillion.
Like, for me, of course, Nolan North, who's the one who did the voice and the motion capture for Nathan Drake for the games. For me, it's always the guys who've done the games. You know what I mean? Like when whoever has voiced the games. So like at times I always felt like even though these guys are actors, you know, like these guys have done the voice and the motions for the motion captures. I don't understand why people don't take them. Like why doesn't the casting directors or the directors themselves take the people who have done the voice for the games and like have them act into it, because like they could actually do it, like they already know it, you know what I mean? Like it's already in their motions, it's already in their repertoire, so it's not like they have to rebuild that character because it's already there for them, so they can at any time just snap and they're that character and then they can act because they can. So like I don't understand why they don't take them.
I mean, so I used to think like that, right? Like, but then I think that there's certain cases just where even though the voice actor's voice is perfect, they're just not appropriate to play the character on screen. Like, I think one of the best examples of this is Archer. I don't know if you've ever seen Archer.
The animated show?
Yes.
Yes, I have.
Yeah, so okay, so Archer. Obviously, he's basically supposed to be James Bond's dad, almost in terms of mega smooth spy, alcoholic, right? And his voice acting is done by John Benjamin. Now, his voice is perfect, but if you look at that guy in real life, he's a balding, short guy who's in his 50s, yeah? He is not suited to play Archer, though his voice might be perfect for him. So, same with, Judy Greer as Cheryl Dunn. Her voice is perfect as this grating, annoying thing, but she can't play that character in real life. So I can see why a lot of the times the voice actors don't reprise their roles in movies and TV adaptations.
But oh well, let's see what happens. But good thing. The only thing I'm happy about as well, like the other thing I'm happy, not the only thing, but the other thing that I'm happy is that they actually had people who did the voice actings for, like, for example, let's take Nathan Drake, right? The guy Nolan North who did the voice acting for Nathan Drake, he actually got flown down on set, talked with Tom Holland, and told him how Nathan Drake is Nathan Drake and what makes Nathan Drake Nathan Drake. So I think that's a good thing because not many big studios like that get like the actors who've done the characters for the games to come in and be like, here, talk about tell the main actor who's playing the character how the character should be played, or like how he should do certain things.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Absolutely, like you see that a lot in, I guess, these kind of adaptations, right? Like people who just kind of feel like they've made the character, they own the character. Like, for example, Lou Ferrigno, who was the original Hulk in the 70s, or who'd have a word with Mark Ruffalo. Well, Mark Ruffalo is a much better Hulk now, but you see what I mean? Like, yeah, like there are certain generational actors who kind of just made that role their own, and I do think Nolan North has the iconic little voice that people will kind of resonate to and will be upset without. But I guess one more point I kind of wanted to touch about is just something like a tangent to this. We've got quite a few, like gaming world is just seeping into the real world in terms of entertainment media now, because while we've got on the one side, we've got obviously games being with very strong stories and world building being made into movies, like obviously we've got Uncharted that we've already discussed. On the flip side, we've got things like Dota, Dragon's Blood, and the upcoming League of Legends series, wherein you got TV shows without actually, they don't actually have any stories in the game. Like there's a little bit of lore and world building, but there are no real stories, but they're being fleshed out just to entice people into playing the game. I know we've already spoken about Dota Dragon's Blood offline, and I'm quite excited about the League of Legends show as well. And aside from that, there's something I've been watching on Netflix called The King's Avatar, which is now it's just a normal I can't call it live action really, because there's no real action, but yeah, it's just a normal TV show, and it's based with some very well-known Chinese actors, and it's fully an esports TV show, literally based on a guy who gets kicked off his esports team who's won 3 championships in a row and his path to redemption. And you know what? It was really good.
Okay. Okay. So okay. But then no. Okay. So then what about as you did mention, right? You did mention about the League of Legends and the Dota show. We'll just transfer over to that, And so let's talk about that then. So for of course, for now those, right? They will have the actors. Well, not about I don't know about the Dota one if they did, but for the League of Legends ones, they're of course gonna have the actors, the voice actors who did the voices for that, to come and do the voices for the TV show, which is a good thing. And as you did mention, that game is just everyone, 5 people against 5 people, and there's not much of a lore other than like you don't get a lore from playing. You get more of the lore from reading about it
Absolutely.
on their websites or like on their comics or whatever. Like how Blizzard does for Overwatch, for example.
Yes.
Like even like that one, I could see like Overwatch is another one that I would want to see turned into a TV show, like an animated TV show, because it's rich with lore. It's very rich with lore.
Oh, I absolutely agree with that. In fact, when the Overwatch reveal came out, like the animation on it was like perfect for just an animated show, and I think it's gotta be in the offing because Blizzard animation is just so good. Like just from even dating back to games as far back as from 2000. Like my favorite game is, I think you already know this, is Diablo, and the
Yep.
cutscenes even back from year 2000. Those cutscenes and their audio effects still have a, like, just thinking about them give a chill on my spine like 20, 21 years later. So yeah, I do think Blizzard Studios does have a bright future. Obviously Overwatch is probably the best suited to make a long-term show out of it. But you know what? I would like it if these studios would stop trying to do a little cash and grab movie and make them extensive series like Dota
Yes.
has done, or like Last of Us is going. Because I can't imagine Last of Us being in a movie format. It would just be
No.
terrible.
Like there's just too much information to spit in, less time. If it's going to be a movie, it's too much for one to handle. It'd rather be a full-fledged TV show where everyone can absorb little information per episode in a way. And again, about the Overwatch thing, they are already doing, how they already do like little short videos on YouTube for people to watch about, even if it's just like a new character release, they'll tell you like a little bit background video of the character.
Yep.
Or like the dragons episode that was on Hanzo and Genji, of how Genji, once he turns cybernetic, comes back and meets Hanzo, and Hanzo doesn't realize that he's Genji. And just that animation done in that is just brilliant. It's just brilliantly done.
Yeah, completely agree. And actually, you know what excites me as well is, it's something that goes in the opposite direction as well. So you must have heard of Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Yes.
And now that obviously, and they got the follow-up Korra, which was also great, and now they're opening up Avatar Studios, right?
Yep.
Like in a response to Disney Plus, and I am very excited about that especially because they've also licensed, or at least there's been rumors about licensing an Avatar real-world open world game. So I'm quite happy about things going the other way as well, from TV shows to movies, because yeah, something like Avatar, oh man, playing that in a game would be amazing. I can kind of just think about the controls. There's obviously people going mad with theory crafting and stuff, but yeah, just I think the other way around also has massive potential.
So yeah, basically you actually mean that it's to TV shows to
Adapt into games, yeah, absolutely.
Because like I think the Avatar Studios have confirmed that they're gonna make an animated movie,
Yep.
which is already in the works or something like that.
Yeah, that's
and
the
they
first
might
thing,
continue. And they might continue with the TV show as well, which is perfect because like there's so much to go on. It's either you continue after Korra, that's one part, or they can continue from when Aang turns old. And lots of people, if I remember, in Reddit and other places, want to see Aang when he's a bit older, and when Republic City is being made, and or Republic City has been established, and Aang is still alive, and he's still like in his, let's say,
Prime.
30s or 40s, yeah, somewhere there, and then he's ready to he does what he does as an avatar, and that would be brilliant to see, because then you still see how all the team Avatar has branched out, because you do see them in what you call in flashbacks in Korra, where you see how Beifong's whole side gets separated, and she works with she does the, what do you call it, the cops and all that. She's the one who establishes that. Aang is just basically taking care of everything around, and then Korra's not Korra, what's her name?
Katara.
Katara, she just, I don't know what she does. Like, we would want to know what she's up to, other than like taking care of the kids. And Zuko, of course, is gone back home and taking care of that, and how he has a daughter, and how that kind of thing plays into play. How he got the dragon, that's one thing I want to know. How there was two dragons alive. I wonder where the third one comes, because that's the third dragon basically we see in
Or
the show.
he's one of the two alive that he's somehow managed to make his ally. I mean, I don't know if I agree with that, to be honest. I do think that we kind of, because we know how they all end in Korra, the only person I would love for to come back, and I think I kind of captures the essence of the show, is Uncle Iroh.
Oh yes.
Aside from that, I think the story's been told, especially if you've read the Dark Horse comics. I've not read them all, but I've been spoiled on it, and they kind of take place the journey, and it kind of gives everyone closure to the point that you won't. Well, I don't really, spoiler alert for any viewers. Mute yourself. Mute the show for 5 seconds. Azula gets a redemption arc, which I never thought would happen. But there's just so much room. Like, you got 10,000 years of potential world building history there. Like, for example, my favorite bit of Korra, aside from the season where you obviously fight Zahir, it was when they go back to the very first Avatar, Vaughn, and just how it all started. I'd love to
Wan,
see his
right?
journey.
Avatar
Yeah, exactly.
Wan?
Yeah, Avatar One, like, or one almost, but yeah, like, and I'd love to see his journey, and then the first few after that, like, because we know almost nothing about that, like, and that world where obviously you got like people like, oh, no, people, lion turtles and spirits still living there, like, that's a very different world. Well, but there's a lot of potential. I'm sure they're gonna explore a lot of shows there.
And like, what's it called? And the animation style of when we saw in Wan's time, when he was the Avatar, and or he's becoming the Avatar, the animation of the fire was different, water was different. Like, it was as if, like, how those Japanese paintings are, or like the Asian
Yes.
paintings. It looked like that. It wasn't like what we see in Avatar Aang's animation, or Korra's animation. It's completely different.
Yeah, absolutely. It was more like, I guess, like, more of a, just almost like old-fashioned style animation, but not even old-fashioned. Yeah, just deliberately made to resemble almost the paintings, and the slowness and almost like the ancientness, if that's the word,
Yes, yes.
of the setting, and yeah, which kind of did make it seem everything a lot more surreal. Because, well, I guess in a way it was almost as a dream as well, like, if you want to put it like that, because we're not really sure what happened to make us show that. But yeah, like, Avatar Studios is, I'm hoping they grow into full-fledged TV, movies, music, and game studio. That would be great.
That'd be perfect. And before we move on to one more section, did you know that the person who voices Uncle Iroh also voices Aku from Samurai Jack?
I did know that. Yeah, like, it was,
Yeah.
he's amazing.
And
I mean,
sadly, go on.
Yeah. So yeah, go on.
I was gonna say, sadly he passed away, but like the original person, right? Mako Mako is his first name. I don't want to say his last name because I'm going to butcher it, but yes, I let me try. It's Iwamatsu, I think so. Yeah, something like that. I'm so sorry if I
And that's it
butchered
now.
it.
Yeah, that's how I read it as well. So you did fine.
Yeah. So sadly he passed away, but still, like what his voice plays such a good role. Like his voice itself is another actor, if you a character, if you know what I mean. Like his voice
Yes.
is just so brilliant when it comes to Uncle Iroh. Of course, when it comes to Aku, it's a different story. But when it comes to Uncle Iroh, it's just wonderful and just yeah. So like if you said about Uncle Iroh, like you would want to see a TV show on that, I would want to do that too. Like a good one season TV show about Uncle Iroh forming the Lotus. You know what I mean? The
Yes,
White
absolutely.
Lotus is what's called. Yeah.
Yeah, or even just tea with Uncle Iroh, where other people visit his tea shop and he gives them like life advice, and you see how it kind of works out for them. Like yeah, anything to do with Iroh and his iconic voice and the character. Not gonna lie, it was just
True.
something I'd like to see.
Or maybe that could be in the game. You just see Uncle Iroh's tea shop, and you just go in, and he just basically all you have to do there is just sit down, have tea, and
I give you
it's like
life advice. Yeah, you know what? That'd be amazing. You had like an AI chatbot giving you life advice there. It's like, oh yeah, this is where I'm having trouble with my job or partner or money or whatever, and then it'll give you some advice.
Exactly. I mean, that'd be a good world building. And talking about world building, I don't know. I bet you've heard about the game Ark. Ark Survival Evolved or something. Yes. For people who don't know what it is, it's basically a game where it's a survival game where you can tame dinosaurs and other prehistoric beasts, and it gets crazy after that because then it's like aliens and dragons and Bigfoot and all these kind of cryptozoology animals. And so I think how they are now coming up with a a TV show, animated TV show, is brilliant. Because again, as you said, that game has nothing that much lore wise, other than you get dropped onto this planet or this land, and you just basically have to survive. And it's like Minecraft, but without the box and pixelation, and it's just that kind of a survival kind of a game where you build stuff and you upgrade them later on when you get better materials. But hearing when that kind of a game it's getting a TV show, it's perfect because then you get to see more of how the things in Ark are, like how that this like there are these kind of like not like drop boxes, but like these loot boxes in a form of a diamond, and like why are they being dropped, or like what is this planet that you're actually on, and like who's actually controlling and all this kind of stuff. What's the idea of you having this little thing on your wrist, on your inside of your wrist, like what's that for? And like getting to know about the background information on that from just a TV show, it's just perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I really like these kind of shows that take place in an open world game normally, because they follow normally the path of one character, and it just shows you the realms of what could have happened, because you can take one of infinite paths, and just taking one path in and putting it in a serialized way, more than anything, to be completely honest, for me, makes me just want to open up and play the game. But looking at the cast of this show is just insane. You got like Russell Crowe, Vin Diesel, you got Elliot Page, Alan Tudyk, Carl Urban, who's right now my favorite actor, by the way. Love Carl Urban. Michelle Yeoh, Gerard Butler. Like it's ridiculous star-studded lineup here. I'm sure I'm forgetting some as well. I did not expect it to be this massive, big budget production, but I'm hoping it lives up to it.
Same. And so yeah, that's the one that that they talked about and they released information on this year. So I'm just curious to know how they'll bring about, and maybe like of course they're not going to show you the taming process, because trust me, it's the most it's not rigorous, but it's the most like it's very boring. Like it's a lot of it's like you have to knock the animal out with certain things. Make sure that the animal is eating narcotics and this food that the animal prefers, and just sit there and watch the taming bar slowly, fully completed. And so yeah, of course, no one wants to see that in the TV show, but let's see, how they pull through with that. And before we finish, I wanted to ask you, what out of all the games that they have announced that are turning into TV shows or movies, what game do you think would deserve? It can be an underrated game, for all I know. But what game do you think deserves the spotlight for it turning into a full-fledged TV show or movie?
Oh, this is a very easy question for me. Diablo 2.
Why is that?
So, I mean, even 21 years on from when I first played the game, it's iconic. It kind of paved way for all the role-playing games that you see now. Just, the standard isometric top-down view where you click a mouse or use your joystick to move the character around. And it's got an amazing, not only just a visual setting, it's got amazing world building. And even back in 2000, the cutscenes was something. I played hundreds of games over my life, but the only cutscenes that I vividly remember, there were only 28 minutes worth of cutscenes in the whole game, unlike all the rubbish that goes on in most of these games today, right? But they were superb. And I just feel like the cutscene has enough to be built into a movie. But I do feel like that the world in and of itself can be explored as a TV show, a lot like the Witcher series. But I do feel like it probably needs some big name to kind of push it through. Like obviously we had as Ryan Reynolds do for Deadpool. We need some big name to kind of push through Diablo 2, but it's Diablo 2 Resurrected is coming out, as I've already bombarded you like 10 times with this year, so I'm sure it's going to be renewed with attention. And yeah, I just feel like the Diablo property, and with Diablo 2 in particular, it's just this amazing storyline. And yeah, the cutscenes just already show that the adaptation can be amazing.
And would you want this to be like animated or live action?
Oh, that's a tough one, because obviously a lot of these things, I do feel like it's a lot easier to make them animation, but good quality animation does take years, as we've seen with Avatar, Korra, or even things like Archer. It just takes years to animate them well. But I do think if they do it something like Game of Thrones level or Witcher level budget, yeah, I would much prefer it to be live action.
Okay, and one last question, because you said if it's live action, you know how then there's the question of practical effects or CGI, like proper just visual effects, or the mix of both.
I mean, so I guess I don't really know too much about the underlying technologies. I was very impressed with just the practical effects they used within WandaVision, right? I saw the making of WandaVision.
Or even Mandalorian, for example, like that's also practical effects there.
Is it? I did not know that. So if they can do it to that level, I mean, I just feel like a mixture of both, but whatever just keeps the realism most for the viewer is appropriate.
Okay. And yeah, okay. That's great. And yeah, that dude, thank you for I mean that there's nothing else to, fully dig into. And if there is, for sure I'll have you come back and we will, I'll pick your brain again and we'll fully, dive into something even deeper. Maybe we'll talk more about Diablo for people, who don't know how to play Diablo. Like perfect. You know what I mean? Like we can make a guide just for people who want to know how to play Diablo. But yeah, that would be a perfect idea. but then yeah, dude, thank you so much for joining the show, and thank you so much for sacrificing some of your time just to hop by.
It is a Saturday, for a man who works 45 hours, 50 hours a week. Yeah, definitely you're welcome, and thanks for having me. I'll catch you soon.
Yes, thank you.